Hello and welcome to Ice Dice. My name's Evan and this is Mike.
Hello!
And today we have a review edition where we're going to be taking a look at Tides of Time. Tides of Time comes from Portal Games. It's a two-player game that takes roughly 15 minutes to play. The theme is that you're civilizations, but the mechanics are card drafting and set collection. The game is played with an 18-card deck. There's 3 suits plus some suitless cards. Most cards give you points for the things you have in your tableau at the end of the round. I'll go into a little bit more detail later on what each of the cards are. But the way the game is played is each player will be dealt 5 cards. They'll look at those 5 cards, choose one to keep, and pass the remainder over to the other player. You'll reveal which card you kept, then you'll pick up the cards you will pass, and you'll keep one of those cards and then pass the remainder to the other player. You'll do that until each player has 5 cards. Then you'll look at the cards, figure out how many points they give you, add up those points and mark it down somewhere. Then each player will pick up all the cards they have, choose one to keep for the remainder of the game, and choose one to remove from the game. In round 2, you have that card that you kept from round 1 that will contribute to the scoring of round 2. And at the end of round 2, you'll keep a second one, so you'll have 7 cards in round 3 that'll score, and you do that for 3 rounds. Whoever has the most points wins. Now this game is enhanced once you know what all the cards are. So I've made this player aid that kind of shows you what they have. In each suit there's a card that gives you 3 points for having cards of another suit. And in each suit there's a card that gives you 7 points if you have the most of another suit. And then there's 3 of them that are either a set of 2, set of 3, set of 5. There's one that gives you 3 points for every suit you don't have. And then there's 4 special powers. I'm not going to get into what all those are, but this gives you an idea of the kind of the cards in the game. Well, that's pretty much how the game is played.
Well, that's great that you showed that player aid, because the first time I played this, I really was looking for something that had a summary of all the cards on one sheet, and you've provided that. So that's great, because knowing these cards is really integral to playing well.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you probably won't need the player aid after you've played this a few times, but when you first start out, you have no idea what's in the deck, and it does help you decide, well, what should I be going for? But I will say one thing about this player is I think I've uploaded like 50 player aids to Board Game Geek, but I might or might not upload this one, because even though I've uploaded 50 or so, I've probably made 80 or 90 of them. But I don't always upload them if they're too similar to what somebody else already does. Because every now and then I'll see one that's like, oh, I like what they did, but there's a couple minor tweaks I want to make to it. And if it's too similar, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. So I don't know, I'll look to see what else up there, see if I should upload this one.
This man is replete in geek gold. He has a lot of it.
I don't even know how much I have. But the thing is that I don't spend my geek gold on anything. I'm not into those micro badges or not into anything. So actually, every now and then, someone will, with my player aid, they'll go like, "Oh, here, you had an erre," because I do sometimes errors creep in, and they fixed it. If they do that, I give them like 100 geek gold. I don't care. And they're always like, "Oh, you're so generous." It's like, it's fake. It's fake. It's not real. You know.
Well, 18 cards in this game, and that's the key, is the 18 cards in this game, and it gets to the essence of what makes a good card drafting game, and that is, of course, is the risk reward, and the fact that the cards that don't give a lot of points are worth that don't give a lot of points are fairly easy to collect, but the cards that have a high risk to reward, you need another card to work with it. So it's all the things you want in a card drafting mechanic, and the risk to reward down to the essence of 18 cards. So the amount of choices with that small combination, they've done a really great job with this.
Yeah, one thing I like in card drafting games is when the cards come back to you. And that's one of the issues I have with Seven Wonders. It's not about the game design, it's about the fact because it supports 7 players, a lot of people want to play it with 7 players. But with 7 players, when you get every hand you get, you're never seeing any of those cards again. And I like a game where you have that extra decision of, well, let's see, if I I want both these cards, but I think if I leave that one in there, they're not going to want it. But if I leave this one in there, they're going to want it, so I better take this one now. So you're right, 18 cards, it really does kind of boil it down to that essence.
Yeah, you're right with that essence. The only time you can make that call with the Seven Wonders, you're playing somebody who isn't savvy or something, and they're like the green cards are, something that's a 101 that gets you a lot of points. And this thing does not have the card in it that says, yeah, you collect this thing, and it's a pretty good chance that you're going to score a lot of points unless somebody else has that. There's the 13 card, 13-point card that has one of every suit, but that's pretty hard. That's pretty hard to get.
Yeah, the one thing about this is that I do think the strategy of what cards you keep throughout the game, the ones that are not about collecting some other card are more powerful. Like if you get that win all ties, you want to hold on to that one. Because the problem with the ones that you get points if you collect this other stuff, is you don't know if that other stuff is going to be even in the later rounds. So I do think that just as a tip for new players, yeah, if you have one of the ones that is not about collecting another suit, those are the cards you want to keep throughout the whole game.
I agree. The components are nice. I mean, it's an 18 cards, so there's a little bit of a flavor text on there, and there's these holding relics that hold your cards. So and the cards are of good quality. So it's a fine. The components are fine for an 18 card game.
Yeah, the artwork is actually very good, but it is a very abstract game. I mean, the theme is that you're building civilizations. It's a suited card game is really all it is. They could have done anything on this. It doesn't really distract from the game because the artwork is good. Yeah. Like you say, it's good quality components and the graphic design is good. And this is not a particularly complex game. I think it might take a couple people, a little bit of time to play through, but people should be able to pick this up pretty quickly.
Yeah, people should pick it up quickly, but picking it up, I read the rule book, and it basically noted the fact that somebody played the Eye of the North, and this obviously means he scored another 6 points. And immediately I'm going, what is Eye of the North? And that card does that. So the abstractness is a bit much, because one of these is obviously the Eye of the North. I mean, look at it; it looks just like the Eye of the North.
I've played this game a few times. I didn't even know one of the cards was called Eye of the North. I don't look at what they're called. Yeah, and I don't really care. But as far as replayability goes, I think that this game is quite a bit replayable, but the one concern I have is that sometimes in this kind of smaller card game, after a while, once both players have fairly mastered the game, then it just comes down to luck of the draw. Who draws what, which could limit its replayability. I have to play it more to see if that's actually the case. But that is a concern I have, is that it might be that after a while, okay, it just depends on who draws what, rather than who could figure out what the best card to keep is. So
I agree with you. I agree with your replayability, but depending on what relics they save too, that's another thing that would change your strategy a bit.
You're right. That I hadn't thought of that. That does actually would add to the replayabilities, that you got to watch what they are, what they're keeping, and keep an eye on that. So what kind of rating would you give this?
I like it. I haven't played it enough. It might straight be a love it. It depends on who I play with. But I like it right now. But it might grow on me.
I'm actually going the other way. I'm going, I like it, but I think it might drop to it's just okay. But the one big thing I think this has going for it is because it's so small, I could see this as the kind of thing you just throw in your purse, if you have a purse, or backpack or whatever, and you've always got it with you. I mean, that is a big plus. So, yeah, like it. We'll see how it plays out in the long term, though.
Yeah, your little scenario there reminds me, basically, you're waiting for your rest of your game group to show up, and they're going to lunch or something. They got 20 minutes. You're cracking this thing out. It's fun.
Yeah, it's only 2 players, but that'll work. Okay, well, that's it for this edition. See you again next time.
See ya.